Welcome to the EOB podcast, where we talk about the weekend box office and the new openings this week. I'm Ben No, and joining me is Sen Dong. So, Sen, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, let's do this. So, finally, Deadpool has dropped down from its amazing run at the box office. It was spending 3 straight weeks in the top spot with amazing numbers.
Yeah.
But this week, it got overtaken by the new animation by Disney.
Yeah, by Disney Animation, who's been on a really, really good one, critically and commercially.
Remember, Disney's animation were good when they had a streak of, I guess I wouldn't say bad movies.
Mm.
That even when they're bad, they're good. But just not amazing like Pixar.
There was a time after The Lion King and a couple other ones. It started with Was it Treasure Island? No, not Treasure Island. What's that 2D animation that has a very anime feel?
2D animation with an anime feel. It has to be Treasure
No,
Planet. Right?
it's not Treasure Planet. Not Treasure Planet. The one where they search for the underwater city.
Atlantis?
Yeah, Atlantis. Yeah, it all kind of started with Atlantis. It's kind of like their foray into Americanized anime, which, although I loved, it didn't do so well and the reviews weren't so great. I mean, well, in relative terms, like, it only ended up making like 85 million at the box office at the time. The reviews were kind of like mixed. So it was one of their first, I wouldn't say failure, but disappointment. And then it kind of started from there. And then the quality of their films kind of dropped off from there. And by dropping off, like you said, it wasn't disastrous. It was like grosses in the 80 million range instead of the 100 to 200 to 300 million range. And then they started doing 3D. I think Chicken Little, was it Chicken Little? That might be one of the first, which did decent, but not up to par with what they normally see.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that is that I think there was a time where they were trying to go outside of their princess fairy tales movies, and they tried with Atlantis, they tried with Treasure Planet, Chicken Little,
Brother Bear, Brother Bear,
Brother
Chicken
Bear.
Little. We'll take Chicken Little out of it because that's still kind of like one of their first foray into 3D animation.
Yeah, but I mean, story-wise, I think they try to diverge into their, usually,
diverse,
fairy tales, right? No more, Snow White, no more Lion Kings, no more, like Beauty and the Beast. But it is different. Like they try to go for the boys.
Yeah. Well, I guess not just the boys. I mean, it's one of those things where people are like, another Disney movie, and they're just staying with their bread and butter, and I guess they're not trying to expand themselves in terms of the subjects that they cover. But and then when they do try, people are like, you guys suck. That's one of the problems sometimes when you try to get out of your range.
Well, yeah, before, I mean, it was pretty much like all animated musicals. There's there's huge numbers, like the songs get a lot of production. It's not just the movies. Like they have to like a number of songs and music, and those music win awards at the Oscars. So it's big for them, and they sell a lot of CDs, not just DVDs, but CDs of the music.
Right,
so,
right.
There's that too. So, and then when they try to diverge from that, people thought say, we might like to watch something different, but not this different.
It could just be that, you guys try to expand your range, but you guys aren't good enough in those areas that you kind of get into. Had they been better at it, maybe people might have accepted them. But I guess it's just one of those things. They were so good at adapting these traditional fairy tales that when they try to get out of that, they just weren't that good at it. It's either that or people were like, hey, what happened to our fairy tales? That's what we love you guys for.
Right. And hey, as an interesting bit of trivia, the writer for Atlantis was Joss Whedon.
Oh, interesting. See, that's the thing. I think I actually really loved Atlantis, but the reviews were mixed, and like what I thought was great about it, critics didn't like about it. They're like, hey, this is their foray into anime, as if anime is a bad thing. And it's kind of one of those weird double-edged swords. Like, they complain that all they do or, adapt these fairy tales. They don't get out that that area. And then when they do, they're like, hey, you guys are going into something that you guys shouldn't be getting into.
Yeah, that's when you became big. It's hard to take a risk because you get criticized for whatever you do.
Yeah, that's the other thing. They get criticized for not taking enough risk, and then when they take the risk, they get criticized for taking that risk.
Right.
It's one of those things. But when Disney bought Pixar, and the Pixar heads like John Lasseter took control of Disney Animation, it started with Wreck-It Ralph. Since Wreck-It Ralph, they've been on a huge roll. I mean, not critically, commercially, like these films are making 200 million plus, and these films are all very well reviewed. And there's more than a couple of times when people say, hey, this feels like something that Pixar normally produces rather than Disney Animation. So it seems like John Lasseter's influence is kind of all over those movies.
Yeah, I guess when something is so collaborative as movies, like this huge group of people trying to make something, I think culture is very important, right? And I think John Lasseter kind of come back to Disney. He was at Disney before he left for Pixar, right? He came back and then changed the culture, I guess, to give the animators or the storytellers their room to breathe.
Yeah,
right? They don't have to look over their shoulder so much, or maybe he's also giving good input as well.
Right. I remember reading an article. They asked him about how do you manage, all these talented people, and he said, well, he managed them the way he wants to be managed. Mainly, like you said, I don't want someone looking over my shoulder. I just want that space to be creative. Maybe that's what he gives everyone. He's just there to enable people, I guess.
Right. And as we see, the fruit of that effort right there is Disney's movies, animation at least. The animation departments have been on a roll, like hit after hit, and not just hit. It's like well regarded,
critically acclaimed hits, and they kind of taken that shine from Pixar. Like Pixar doesn't have this kind of consistency. Pixar's been kind of up and down. Pixar used to be the most consistent animated studio in the industry.
Yeah, and it's not just the consistency. It's like when Pixar came on, right? People are actually excited about their movies because people know that, hey, they're going to show us something we haven't seen before. Whereas Disney before, it was like, oh, it's going to be a musical or whatever. We've seen what they have to offer. But with this change in culture, I guess it's like it's the same feeling that people have with Pixar. It's like, oh, they're going to show us something interesting and new.
Yeah.
So it's not just consistency. It's that this excitement about their movies. It's like people are looking forward to it. It's not so, we're going to get some musical. Now we're going to get something new.
In a way. But I guess, yeah, they took the Disney brand, the Disney animation brand that people grown to love, the brand that produced, Lion King, Tarzan, Aladdin, all the classic animated features. And when people see Disney animation, they get excited to see their next movie. And that whole brand for a while has been transferred to Pixar. And now it seems like it's moving from Pixar back to Disney animation. I'm not sure if it's like just something new. Like Pixar has never been, I mean, they were the first successful 3D animation company, but even within the industry, they never the ones to be super innovative about, the technology. The way they go about it was Pixar went about it. From what I read, was they're like, well, we're not going to just go and invent some new technology, new visual effects. We'll only do it if we need it for the story. Some people in the visual effects industry have criticized that, hey, Pixar never came. I mean, their movies, you never see this groundbreaking new effects that you see in like live action movies. Maybe one of the reasons why they were so successful is their approach has been, we're going to come up with a story, and then if the story calls for something that we haven't invented yet, then we'll invent it. For technology's sake, we're not just going to push the envelope just because we want a new, shiny technology to impress people. I guess it's that focus on the story that probably made him so successful.
Yeah, and I think also that they don't have the pressure, I guess, of a public company.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Now that they're under the umbrella of a public company, they have to deliver. And I think part of the reason why Pixar is in the state that it is right now is that they have to churn out all these movies. They don't have the time to develop I feel.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, shortly after they were purchased by Disney, because Disney paid, I don't know, back then it was like 4 billion. They need to make their money back,
Mm.
and the easiest, most something that you can always count on are sequels. During their history, the only sequels they cranked out were the Toy Story sequels, and now you're getting like sequels to all of their successful films.
Yeah,
Pretty
I
much.
mean, yeah, before it was what, 4 years between movies or something like that?
No, they do crank out a movie every year.
Really?
Yeah, but
Before they
these,
before they got acquired by Disney?
yeah, on average it takes 4 years to make an animated feature, but they don't make one and then take another 4 year gap. They're always working on several movies at the same time, but
Mm-mm.
most of the resources are put into the current one that they have to finish. But they always have several that they're working on in the background.
Oh, right. Okay,
Um,
so we spoke a long time without talking about Zootopia and how
I
it did
know.
at the box office. Let me just throw out some numbers. So Zootopia,
Yeah,
the movie, the new opening last week came in number one. It pulled in 73 million or 74 million nearly. That is a record for Disney animation, isn't it?
yeah, I think so.
According to, I think, Box Office Mojo, I mean, it is Disney's animation's largest opening ever. That's just Disney animation.
Yeah, and the reviews have been amazing. 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. One of the best, if not the best, review film of the short year so far.
And this is what, like we said, Pixar movies usually go for, right? In the 90s.
Yeah, yep. And now Disney Animations, the studios that's regularly churning out these critically acclaimed hits. It opened overseas, I think, a couple of weeks before it opened in the US. And overseas, it has already grossed nearly 160 million. So the worldwide figure is at 233 million. Over the weekend, it also opened in China. It made about 24 million, but it's getting really good word of mouth in China. It's one of those films where I think on Friday it opened in China and only grossed about 3.5 million. And then on Saturday it made like nearly 3 times as much. It made like 10 million or 9 million. And then on Sunday, which is a day that the grosses normally drop, it made even more than Saturday. So it's getting really good word of mouth in China, and it could be one of those animated features that end up making over 100 million in China. In China, the animation genre isn't as mature as the US. So animated feature making 100 million in China is like groundbreaking.
And hey, it's one of those rare movies that doesn't have kung fu.
Yeah, right. So Zootopia, critically acclaimed, one of the best review films of the year so far. It continues Disney Animation's streak of critically acclaimed hits.
Yes, and last week I said it would do 40.
Yeah, you were way off.
Yeah, you know, you didn't hear that, but I thought there were some things to the movie that I didn't like, but not that I didn't like. I thought, or probably maybe promise spot for the movie, but hey, I said I was willing to take the hit, and I knew that was wrong.
You have lots of cute animals, Ben.
I know, but they're not.
Lots of cute animals. That's like pandas,
I,
minions.
I know, but I thought the story of like a crime buddy comedy might not do as well. But hey, I guess what do I know, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll have to see how good the word of mouth is going into. I mean, I'm thinking the word of mouth has been pretty good because Disney animation so far they make about 200 million, with the exception of Frozen. Frozen ended up making about 400 million. So I wonder if this will do better than the average Disney animation so far, or if this will be another Frozen level hit.
Frozen is a phenomenon. It's a cultural phenomenon, and those kind of things are hard to predict. I mean, I don't think this one has songs in it, right?
Yeah, there's no songs, but it doesn't have to have that to make that much.
No, it's just that people are
like,
going in. Yeah, but like for Frozen, people are watching it multiple times.
Kids could watch this multiple times, so.
True, but I don't think not as much as Frozen. I don't think
Frozen was a phenomenon, but there's like Shreks and there's Minions. You don't have to have singing and all that stuff to get to the 400 million mark.
Well, no, I'm saying there's something extra to it that goes outside of the movie.
Yeah. The thing with Zootopia is it might have that something extra, especially from what I've been seeing in China so far. I mean, if it's able to have that kind of legs in China, that kind of word of mouth in China, in here, I think it might have that kind of word of mouth.
Definitely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
Okay, coming in number 2 is London Has Fallen, the sequel to Olympus Has Fallen. About the president of the United States and his bodyguards heading over to London, and I guess it's a terrorist attack they need to deal with. So it pulled in about 21.7 million over the weekend. Kind of way less than the first, not way less, but less than the first movie. But it's kind of where we had it, right? We had it at about, I say about 25 million. You had it about 20.
It was like right in the middle.
It's closer to yours because remember, these are estimates and sometimes they kind of go over.
Yeah, right.
More optimistic.
Yeah, right. So I think the first one opened to 30 something million, low 30s. So it is about 30% off, which for a sequel isn't bad, but not great. The reviews have been terrible, like 26% on the tomato meter. It's not like the reviews for the first film was great either, but this is even worse than the first film. The budget is relatively low. It's made for 60 million. So, a 22 million opening for $60 million budget isn't bad, but I'm not sure if this will be leggy enough to make 60 million.
Well, let's put it this way, okay? The reviews are relatively bad, 26% on the tomato meter, but a minus cinema score. So there's this disconnect there.
Yeah, so hey, who knows? Maybe it will be leggy enough to pull off 60 million. And the surprising thing was Olympus Has Fallen, being an action movie, I thought would appeal to the overseas crowd, but it wasn't that impressive overseas. I think it only made like 60 million overseas, the first one.
62, yeah.
Yeah, and it made about 100 million domestically.
The thing also with sequels is that sometimes they do better overseas because due to the exposure, like on video or whatever, however they get their movie, right?
Right.
So sometimes
so we'll have to keep an eye on.
Right. So I mean, according to the audience score, it's not terrible.
Yeah, that's good.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
So people might check it out eventually, or actually overseas, it might actually do better overseas than the first movie.
Right. So we'll have to see.
Yes, and then we'll move on. Another place will fall, I guess. The next time, maybe China has fallen or Beijing has fallen.
And there'll be a co-production.
Right. Number 3?
Sure. Deadpool. 16.4 million, drop off of 47%, probably due to competition from London Has Fallen a little bit. After 4 weeks of release, it has already grossed 311 million at a budget of just 58 million. Worldwide is at 673 million. So it's already by far Fox's highest grossing comic book movie, and as an origin story, it's already one of the best debuts for superhero films.
I have nothing else to add except that the execs at Fox who grudgingly greenlit this movie, they're patting themselves on the back. They're cashing those bonus checks.
Right. They're like, we told you so.
Right.
Apparently, Ryan Reynolds has been working on this movie or trying to get this movie made for like over a decade.
Yes, and Fox always said, hey, nobody wants to watch a R-rated superhero movie.
Yeah, it's the right kind of movie for Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds was a comedian before he was this sex symbol action star guy.
You know what? His good looks is holding him back. As soon as he put on a mask, there you go.
Oh, yeah, that's true. As soon as he put on a mask and made himself ugly, even if he takes off his mask, the character, his whole body's been like burnt. And you're right there. His good looks were keeping him back.
Yeah, that's it. The roles he should look for.
Right. It's almost like the irony of it all, right? Like, remember Fantastic Four when everyone was saying, what's her name? The Invisible Woman.
Jessica Alba?
Yeah, they're like, why would you make Jessica Alba invisible? And Deadpool is another movie where you can say, well, this is why we have to make Jessica Alba invisible. Her good looks are keeping her back.
Yeah, just like some actresses, they have to look bad to win Oscars. Charlize Theron for Monster.
Right.
As we found out, Ryan Reynolds is in the same boat.
Yeah, you have to make him look ugly before he can get ahead. All right. I think we've spoken enough about Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds' good looks.
Okay, how about we move on to number 4, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Is that new kind of comedy, war dramedy?
Yeah, dramedy.
Starring Tina Fey. The movie's just like, as you said, that her track record without her partner, Amy Poehler, doesn't do as well.
Yeah, they're around this range. People only want to see her with Amy Poehler.
Yeah, but this is a movie with a message, so unlike her
Oh, and like,
team
yeah.
ups.
Well, I shouldn't say that because wasn't she also in that movie with Steve Carell that did really well?
Oh yeah, date night.
Oh, yeah. So it seems like with her, you have to pair her up with another comedian.
Yeah, another comedian with and a comedy. But
Yeah,
this one is about her as a reporter and,
yeah,
about being addicted to war, like covering the story there, and you get seduced by things going on there, and
right.
about getting the story out.
And of course, those kind of movies have been doing gangbusters at the box office, right?
Right. Hey, won an award, right? Won an Oscar, even though no
Uh,
one's seen it. Hurt
yeah,
Locker?
Hurt
Yeah,
Locker. Yeah, that's
yeah.
right. But it seems like whenever they try to throw comedy at the Middle East conflict, you get indifference. Like the what's the other recent one with
Rock the
the American?
Kashba,
Yeah, Waki Kashba. Yeah, just don't throw comedy at it.
Yeah, they try to make fun of I guess, a touchy subject, really, because it's still going on.
Right. And maybe they feel like people might care about it more if you throw comedy at it, or
Yeah,
maybe that's a way of making it more accessible. But people just don't care in general.
right. Yeah. Well, here's the thing, though. I mean, we've seen indies coming from foreign countries. They're kind of like the same thing. They try to have a comedic look at the way of life there. Like everyone's suffering, but they try to make it funny. And those are indies here. They do around these numbers.
Right.
So I think what we're seeing is, hey, you really can't, well, not can't, but I'm sure they're good movies, right? But maybe they don't want to laugh at these kind of serious subject matters.
Yeah, the only person that seems to do well with this kind of subject matter is George Clooney. And even then, the grosses have been around only like the 50 million range, not blockbuster level hits. Tina Fey's other movie as the top bill star without a comedic co-star is Admission. And that also kind of had the same opening. Although with Admission, she had Paul Rudd, but that didn't help.
That was before Ant-Man.
Him as a supporting character has been opening movies during that time. But again, it's a subject matter, admission to a college.
Ha ha ha, funny stuff.
Yeah, movie that everyone's been waiting to see, right?
They mark on the calendars, tell their friends. Right. The budget is relatively modest, 35 million.
Not modest enough.
Yeah, I don't know, it might break even. I mean, it might make its budget back.
I think with a 35 million budget, you kind of have to open to at least 10 to 13 million. At around 8 million, I think it'll probably top out at around 20, low 20s. At 35 million, they'll lose some money, but they probably won't lose that much money. And through creative accounting, they'll always lose money.
But yeah. No movie makes money.
Yeah.
Avatar lost a lot of money.
But when it goes into video and stuff, they might make back their money.
All right. So message to Tina Fey: team up with another comedian.
She's like, screw you, Ben.
Right. Hey, I know she's the one making movies, and I'm here sitting behind the desk. Let's move on to number 5. Gods of Egypt. In its second week, it dropped about 65%. Made 5 million over the weekend.
And at a budget of 140 million, one of the biggest studs of the young season. Another Gerard Butler action film. But like you said, Lionsgate's exposure is only 10 million. They might make money.
Yeah, say what you will about Lionsgate. They got other people to pay for their movies.
Yeah, so in this one, they probably pre-sold the movie for like 100 million or maybe even close to 120, 130 million, and then they spent that money to make the movie. They're not the ones who's going to be losing money. They might even make some money from this. It's the overseas guys who purchased the rights who were sold on Gerard Butler making speeches in front of a green screen.
Yeah, you were sold.
Yeah, I was sold on it. Luckily, I don't have that much money to invest in it. I would have lost money.
Right. Aren't you glad that you're sitting behind a desk?
Yeah, right. I'm going to have to scratch out the Gerard Butler making speeches in front of a green screen.
Anyone pitch you that? Scratch it out.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to number 6. It's Risen. It made 3.8 million over the weekend. It's already in its third weekend, and it's nearing 30.
Yeah, on a budget of 20 million. It's doing well. A modest hit for Sony and keeping the whole faith theme genre alive.
Yes, and we'll see more this month. So it's going to have some competition from newcomers this weekend.
Right. And number 7, Kung Fu Panda 3. At 3.5 million, a 60% drop off, a huge drop off compared to its previous weeks. It was holding up really, really well. But obviously, Zootopia took most of his business. After 6 weeks, it has already grossed 134 million. It'll probably finish at maybe 140, 145, which isn't too far off from the second film.
Well, it's doing kind of relatively well overseas. I mean, the domestic and foreign take are kind of within the ballpark of each other.
Yeah. It's already grossed 324 million worldwide. About half of that is from China. It opened in China and a few other territories, so we still have a huge way to go.
Of course, there will be Kung Fu Panda 4, right?
Yeah, the way this is going, yeah.
Okay.
And because the third film did better in China than the second film, and it's already the highest grossing animated film of all time in China. So we'll see a fourth one. Animation in China isn't as mature a genre as it is in the US, because in the US, when an animated feature comes out, it makes 100 million, 200 million or more. Whereas in China, except for the Kung Fu Panda movies, and the last is like one of the Monkey King is like a local animated feature that made about 150 million too. Most of the other animated features have grossed anywhere like in the 30 million range. Ones that made outside of that 30 million range is considered a pretty solid hit.
Right, but you think that Zootopia will take the record from Kung Fu Panda 3 over there?
It has a good chance because word of mouth has been so great. Like it opened on Friday and I thought, oh, this is going to be another animated feature that's just going to come and go. Not come and go. It made about 3.5 million, which is kind of like your average animated film. But on Saturday and Sunday, the grosses have tripled. And then even during the weekdays right now, it's still doing really well. It has a really good chance because word of mouth has been so good.
Zootopia doesn't have the brand of Kung Fu Panda, but it might be larger than Kung Fu Panda because of the word of mouth that's going on right now.
So it might be one of those films that, along with Kung Fu Panda 3, one of these animated films that will kind of make the animated film genre in China a little bit more in place with what it's like in the US. I mean, like Inside Out, Pixar isn't big in China.
Well, there is also a dynamics going on there, with the one child per family. It's not like over here.
Right.
So there's that.
I guess in China, you take a family, it's really a family of 3.
Right. If they have the time to get together.
Right. That's a good point. It's not like here, you bring a family, could be a family of 2, could be a family of 3 or 4.
Right. And normally the grandparents watch over the kids anyway. And they might not bring the kids to watch movies.
That's a good point. Actually, I wasn't thinking of that. Maybe that's a reason why the animation genre hasn't caught up yet. But it is moving in the right direction, though, with Zootopia, the Kung Fu Pandas, and the homegrown animated features. Enough about animated films in China.
Oh. Okay, so number 8 is The Revenant. It pulled in 3.3 million over the weekend. It's still hanging around in 11 weekends already.
Even though it didn't win Best Picture, the Oscar bump is still in place. It continues to hold up. Because in previous weeks, it's been like next to Star Wars, The Force Awakens, but now is in terms of weekly grosses and how well it's held up, it's still in the top 10, whereas Star Wars have finally dropped out of the top 10. It's getting extra business from the Oscar bump, despite not winning the big award.
Yeah, the drop-off is only like, 16%? I mean, that's impressive.
The lowest of all films in the top 10. And most of them, the drop-off have been like 40 to, 65%. Okay, let's move on to number 9, Eddie the Eagle, starring Hugh Jackman all right, Ben, go ahead. Take it over.
It's about like a British guy trying to make the Olympics doing ski jumps. And Hugh Jackman plays the coach. And just a word of caution, I guess there's no robots here.
Yeah, exactly. It made 3.1 million this week. 50% drop off after 2 weeks of release. It has made 11 million at a budget of 23 million, so it's going to lose money. When it opened last weekend, which was kind of a small opening, the producers and Fox were saying how they think word of mouth will carry this movie through, and it doesn't look like it's going to do it.
I think, it was well reviewed, right? The movie?
Yeah, it was well reviewed. Surprisingly well reviewed. I think it was around 75% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it doesn't seem like people care.
Well, it's a ski jumping movie, right? It's almost like making a movie about DJ. And the lead actor, well, even though Hugh Jackman's there, the main guy, well, he's just a regular Joe, kind of.
Yeah, so it's just one of those movies, despite being a well-made, feel-good, uplifting movie, getting good reviews, it hasn't caught on to the audience, or the audiences are feeling indifferent to it. Or maybe it's one of those films that they feel like, hey, I'll watch this on video.
Besides Hugh Jackman, I mean, who are you really going to see?
Yeah,
And Hugh Jackman doesn't really have the lead role in it. He
yeah,
doesn't really
right.
do much except make speeches and cheer the guy on. I guess Eddie didn't really fly with the audience in this group. I mean,
Okay, all right.
you have to make it, right? I mean,
Yeah, you have to do it.
and also normally they threw in a romantic element in these type of movies, but it doesn't seem like there are any here. So that's why it kept out that crowd as well.
Right. One of those movies, despite being well made, despite getting solid grades, just getting the shoulder from audiences. All right, let's move on to number 10, to a horror movie, The Witch. It did 2.5 million over the weekend. After 3 weeks, it has already grossed 21 million, and it was a hit in the film festivals. And I don't think the film cost that much money to make. So at 21 million, it's a modest hit for the indie distributor A24.
Anytime a horror movie stays in the top 10 for 3 weeks, it's a success.
Right. A24 seems like a pretty good outfit. They released Amy, the Amy Winehouse documentary. That was a pretty good size hit. It made 8.4 million. It's a documentary. 8.4 million for a documentary is very high, very successful, and very well reviewed. And they released Womb, which won an Oscar for Brie Larson, who's from Sacramento.
I don't think we made that point before, but yeah.
Gotta throw it out there.
All right.
And that's all we have to say about The Witch.
Yeah, we already said enough about The Witch.
I guess there's Night of Cups, the new Terrence Malick movie starring Christian Bale and Wes Bentley and Kate Blanchett. Oh, and Natalie Portman's in it too. It only made 56,000 in a couple theaters. The per-screen average is 14,000, but for films that are released in just a few theaters, I guess that's only about average.
Knights of Cups have been in the works for a long time, and just because it's by Terrence Malick, the guy who probably made a film every 10 years, but recently he's been making more. I guess the only reason why people flock to this movie is because it's by Terrence Malick.
Right. He's one of those directors that actors respect and want to work with, and like you said, he only makes a movie every so often, so.
Yeah, and he was able to get Christian Bale, Kate Blanchett, Natalie Portman to star in this movie is because they want to work with him before he dies. Since you never know when you get to work with him because he makes so few movies.
Right, and his films, they're always kind of experimental and not very mainstream movies. I guess I'll say that.
Hey, but like I say, for actors, this is something to put on their resume. Yeah. Hey, I was in a Malick film.
Yeah, right. All right, let's move on to this week's opening movies.
Okay, so for this week's opening, we kind of have a couple. We have 10 Cloverfield Lane, The Brothers Grimsby, The Perfect Match, which is, I guess, kind of wide-ish, 850 theaters, and The Young Messiah, faith-based movie. Let's start off with 10 Cloverfield Lane, which is described kind of as a spiritual sequel to that found footage movie Cloverfield. This is produced by the J.J. Abrams company, Mad Robots.
And the trailer has that kind of feel, except you don't see any monsters.
So it's pretty much like this woman got into an accident and she found herself, I guess, trapped in the basement of a man's house, and she feels that, hey, this guy's had kidnapped me. The guy played by John Goodman saying, hey, I'm actually rescuing you from what's going on out there.
Interesting premise.
Yeah, but we don't know what's going on out there, so
yeah,
at least we'll see the movie.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad people are still making trailers like this, because lately there's been a trend to tell the audience everything. Apparently they did an analysis, and the more you tell people in the trailer, the more they'll go and watch the movie.
which makes sense.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense, but at the same time, it's like there was films where you can be told too much. I think they went overboard with that steady. Recently, they revealed like twists in the trailer, which is like the directors are like, wait a minute, this is supposed to be a surprise. But I'm glad they're still making trailer like this where you're kind of teased to go and see the movie.
Well, we'll see how effective the trailer is for 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Right. So what are you thinking?
It's a low budget movie. Probably take place in one location. You know, this guy's a hideout, which is a basement, and I'm not sure if we'll ever go outside. Even if they go outside, probably only for a limited time. I'm thinking about maybe 10-ish.
I mean, I don't know what kind of budget it has because there's a lot of secrecy surrounding.
Yeah,
this film.
no. Well, during the production.
Yeah, you don't know if this is a $100 million movie or a low budget movie because they don't tell you anything. Kind of like the trailer.
Well, I read that the movie started out as a very low budget movie.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure if they kept it.
Okay. It's interesting. There is some intrigue to the film, but is it intriguing enough? Have they told people enough that it would get them to go and see the movie?
Well, you know the study, right?
Yeah. But, you know, it's like one of those things. What were you thinking, 10 million?
Yeah, I'm thinking about 10 million because it's kind of like they might not have shown enough. And I think the premise right there might not be interesting enough, I felt.
No, plus it's John Goodman, and he doesn't exactly draw a huge audience.
Well, not anymore.
No, he's a great actor. At one point, he can draw an audience.
Right.
10 million is about right to me, too. And I'm not sure what the budget is, so I can't say if 10 million is enough.
Well, I feel that the movie's pretty cheap. Okay. If they keep the location small, which I think it is, except maybe some special effects at the end, you know, with the big reveal, it shouldn't cost that much.
Yeah, 10 million feels about right.
We both agree on 10 million for this movie. I wouldn't be surprised if it made probably a bit more, maybe in the 15 to 20 million range, but I'm going with 10.
Yeah, same here.
All right, how about The Brothers Grimsby? It's the new comedy by Sacha Baron Cohen.
Right.
Penelope Cruz, Mark Strong, Rebel Wilson.
The thing is, since Borat, Sacha Baron Cohen, I mean, it's been doing okay. The Dictator did, about 60 million, and Bruno did about 60 million. Not spectacular openings, but kind of like decent openings. The Brothers Grimsby doesn't feel like it has the same appeal as his other films.
Yeah, the other film was kind of outrageous out there. You know, This one is more kind of conventional, kind of spoof of spy movies. Cohen plays I guess a soccer player or whatever, you know, and his brother is a spy and he got pulled into his brother's business.
Right. And
or he plays a soccer hooligan or whatever, anyway, but his brother plays a spy.
I kind of feel like Spy, the Melissa McCarthy and Jason Statham. Well, Jason Statham is one of the characters, and Jude Law, and I feel like they did a pretty good spy spoof with Spy. We'll see what Sacha Baron Cohen has to offer.
Well, from the trailer, it doesn't look promising. Yeah, you feel that you would get a chuckle out of it, but no, you've kind of seen those before, and you think that maybe like the what's that other?
You mean the Dictator or Bruno or
not Dictators? The made by Mike Meyer, that comedy.
You mean Austin Powers?
Yes, I felt that Austin Powers already did that and did it better.
And recently, Spy did it pretty well.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what else he can add to the equation. From the trailer, it doesn't seem outrageous enough as his other films like The Dictator or Bruno or Borat.
I guess he didn't bring enough to this one.
But his last two films have been very consistent, though. Dictator and Bruno both made about 60 million. And it's not like The Dictator was riding the Borat wave.
The thing with The Dictator is that it was at a time where like dictators were kind of in the news, and he kind of ride the wave. This one, he doesn't really have anything going for it. During the promos, he kind of had I think he was trying to spoof Gaddafi. You know, he has all these women attaché with him, bodyguards. He played these dictators, you know, to promote the movie. But this one, he doesn't have anything like that.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling like a 5 million range.
Yeah, let's do 5 to 10, I think.
You can do 5 to 10. I'll just do 5. Although your 5 to 10 worked pretty well for Whiskey Tango Foxtrot because that was right in the middle.
I don't feel this will have the success of his other movies, even though this one's more actiony.
If not more mainstream, but it feels so generic.
Right, like you say, The Spy did it better with Melissa McCarthy and Jude Law and
Jason Statham.
Yes, Jason Statham.
Spoofing himself.
Right. Oh, let's go with The Perfect Match.
There's another film targeted towards the African American audience, and it's a very reliable audience. They come out to support their actors. The premise is the kind of movie that they'll actually go out and watch.
Hey, romantic comedy is one of those genres that are successful.
How wide is the release? Is it about 2,000 theaters?
Well, they say 850, but I'm not sure if that's updated or not. So it's kind of
smaller than normal. It doesn't have any recognizable stars other than Paula Patton, and she's not exactly a huge draw.
You know what? This movie doesn't need to. You've seen the trailer, right?
Yeah, I've seen the trailer.
I would go to watch it. This movie has the stuff that that I guess appeals to a lot of people.
Guys.
It's a guy's movie.
Yeah, basically a lot of pretty women.
Yes.
Beautiful women.
Yes.
Being engaged in acts that you want to see beautiful women engaged in, that you don't have to pay money to watch at home.
What I'm saying is that this movie has something that might appeal to a certain demographic.
Okay.
And it might not need
any star power.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Okay.
But the number of theaters kind of throw this thing off for me.
Yeah. With that few theaters, even if it makes 8 million, is pretty good. I'll stick with 8 million.
If you go 8, I have to go a bit higher. Maybe 12, because I felt that this movie, people would want to watch the movie, especially this demographic, males and African American.
Yeah, 12 would be a pretty big hit for a film that's in just 850 theaters.
Yeah, I think this movie could do better.
We'll see. I'm going 8, you're going 12?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay, Young Messiah. It's a Jesus movie.
Made in the same vein as Risen. Basically, you put in someone like Sean Bean, a good actor, legitimate actor in a faith-based film with decent production values.
Right. I mean, Sean Bean is an amazing actor. He just has this face. You just want to watch him. He doesn't get enough work.
Yeah. Do you think it can do as well as Risen?
Let's see what Risen did. How Risen did. Risen opened to 11, right?
11, yeah. I mean, Risen was released only a couple of weeks ago. Can they support another Christian movie?
Both is about Jesus, right? One is when he died. The Young Messiah is when he's born, and as a young kid. So they kind of complement each other, right? You watch the Young Messiah, and then you go watch Risen. Who knows?
Maybe they can. That's true. Who knows? Maybe it might even help Risen.
maybe. So how about this? I say it would do. I think it could do in the 10 million range, right?
Okay, 10 million. I'll stick with you. How did we do with Risen? I was thinking 5, right?
I think it was between yours and mine. I think I went high. I think about 15, but actually made lower.
Okay,
and I think you were going low. I
went low.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So this one, I guess we agree that it's going to be somewhere in the 10 million range.
Yeah, I think we're going to be in the middle this time. Okay. 10 million range about. But I feel that more people might come out for the Young Messiah than Risen, if they are going to come out, because this is more faithful.
Well, Risen does have that whole, he's not a believer. It does have a little bit more appeal to someone outside of...
Right. But for this one, this is actually about Jesus himself. Yeah. So that might be different. For the core, it's just like the perfect match, for that group of audience, they might come out for this movie.
So you're thinking it could make more than 10 million?
It could make more than 10 million, but I'm going to stick with 10.
Yeah, okay. We're going 10 with Cloverfield. And Brothers Grimm, I'm going 5, you're going...
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we agree on that. Perfect Match is the only one we kind of disagree on. I'm going 8 and you're going 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, I feel that if any movie were to break out, it would be 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yep.
So it could probably end up doing 25.
That's the thing. There's a lot of mystery surrounding this film. Yeah. So we don't know. We don't know if the film has a big budget. We don't know if there's a monster. No, we're intrigued by the teaser. We're teased. Which is the entire point.
You are teased. You are teased.
Yeah. Which is the entire point of trailers, to tease you. Okay, I was teased, but anyway. But you weren't.
Someone like me might say, hey, I'll wait for you to watch it and you tell me how it goes.
Okay, I see. Right. Okay, so we'll see if 10 Cloverfield Lane delivers this coming Friday or this coming weekend. And we'll also see whether or not the Young Messiah will continue the current streak of faith-based films that are doing modestly well. And we'll see who's right with the perfect match. I'm going 8. You're going 12. The Brothers Grimm. It'll be interesting because if the Brothers Grimm does well, then it keeps Sacha Baron Cohen's streak alive. Otherwise, I don't know. He's been kind of under the radar.
Just that this week's new releases just doesn't have anything. I feel none of these movies are appealing in the sense that gonna do big at the box office.
Right.
Because I guess like this is one of those weeks where it is sandwiched between 2 weekends where they have big movies open. It's supposed to be London Fallen, Zootopia, and next week we have the Divergent movie.
Right.
And then
wait, the third Divergent movie, was it split up into 2?
I believe it was.
Okay, so we're gonna get another one after that. Okay.
Right.
Oh, and then the week following that is Batman versus Superman.
Yep. So that's why this week's movie is kind of like not spectacular. Nothing that
the calm before the storm.
Exactly.
All right, we'll see you next week.